Welcome to Debs Talk Live. Zena, Keita here with Monte. Poole, the official authority on the Warriors. There you go. We're going to have some authority here because the Warriors have now dropped 2 in the top of their 7-game homestand. Miami and now Dallas. 132-122 down the Warriors went, and it was a struggle.
Yes.
I don't think that 10-point deficit actually tells the true story of the game, but I think the fact that Dallas came in and scored 132 points on the Warriors tells one part. Monte, what did you see from the start?
Well, I mean, the defense, Steve Kerr makes changes to the starting lineup because he thought, we'll do some things. We'll get into that later. But but the defense that they've been looking for a long time has not arrived yet. And, maybe you can say, okay, Draymond's not here, so maybe that's a big factor, and I think it is. But even when they were winning, and they had the 5-game win streak, they were still giving up 120 points a game.
Right.
So it still wasn't there, and they knew it wasn't there. So they're trying different things. But this is the second consecutive opponent that came into their building missing a couple of starters.
I was just going to mention that.
No Kyrie Irving, no Maxi Kleber.
And no Steph Curry.
Yeah, and Steph, so you got 2 starters and a rotation guy that are not there for you. So these are games you have to win. I mean, I realize that these teams have better records than the Warriors, but these teams are missing more people than the Warriors.
Correct.
And Miami made it tough on the Warriors, and these guys came in, and the Warriors made it tough on themselves, I thought, a lot. They had a pretty good game plan for Luka Doncic, but they couldn't execute it to save their lives most of the time. I mean, he burned their double teams repeatedly. And, their whole goal was to not let him do that. Let's keep him under 10 assists. The Mavericks are 8-8 when he has less than 10 assists.
Yeah.
They knew that he got to 10 or more, what that means. And he got to 10 or more. He got to 10. But you saw him, they double teamed him, and the Warriors didn't. The switching that they were supposed to do was off kilter.
Yep.
Communication was bad. It was late. And so what you end up having is you have guys shooting corner threes wide open.
Yeah.
And that's a recipe for disaster.
Well, we're going to definitely talk about that defense.
Yeah.
But let's get into a positive, which was the BMW Ultimate Performer of the game, Stephen Curry. Now, had a rough start, which he has had in the last few games, but definitely cleaned it up in the second quarter, and you could see once again Stephen Curry taking on the burden of keeping this team in the game.
Yeah, somebody has to, and Klay had one of the worst nights of his career.
Right.
And so Steph realized that, obviously, and realized that he has to be the person who sort of try and gets the offense going. And tonight he tried. And again, Steph's not shooting the ball real well lately either. I mean, he obviously 9 of 25 is not what you want to see from Steph.
No.
This is the 3rd straight game that he didn't shoot well, the 3rd straight game that Klay didn't shoot well, and guess what?
A loss.
Yeah.
And it's important to mention just how bad that start was. You just saw the stats for the end of the game. Obviously, that 9-25 and 25 points, solid.
Yeah.
3 of 11 at the half.
Yeah.
2 of 7 from 3 at the half. 8 points, -5 in the plus-minus column.
Yeah.
So it was taking him a while to get going. And it's interesting because Festus and I talked about this in the pregame, about the balance between getting Stephen Curry set up through set schemes for him, versus allowing him to do his Stephen Curry thing and run
on the ball.
And create, right?
Yeah.
And so it was clear tonight, Steph needs help. Right? He can't continuously be the one to have to dribble and create his shot for himself. And he also can't be the one to constantly have to be running off his defender.
Yeah.
Right? And so I wanted to ask you about, what you thought about the schemes to get him set up. Because this is something that they worked on. You wrote about this. Yeah,
I mean, this is why Chris Paul started the game. I mean, the idea is that, okay, we'll let Chris be the point guy, and that gives Steph some freedom. And you get if you have, ideally, I think theoretically, if you have Steph and Klay running off screens and, doing their run thing, at some point, one or both will, find open shots.
Correct, yeah.
And there wasn't enough of that. And, for Klay's part, I mean, even when he had open looks, he couldn't convert them,
There's a lot of in and outs for him.
Yeah. And Steph also had, early on had some open looks that he couldn't drop. He missed a couple of layups, so that's uncharacteristic. But you know what? It happens to every single person who's ever played this game.
Right.
So I think the idea of having Steph off the ball a little bit more makes sense because Chris can do that. You saw how the game started. Chris Paul finds Trace Jackson-Davis for a lob. Chris can find guys. He can find Steph. He can find Klay. He's looking for those guys. But they got to make shots, and Chris didn't have many assists like he normally would because those shots weren't going in.
Well, I want to talk about Chris. I'm happy you brought him up because usually when you talk about someone carrying the load alongside Steph, Chris Paul isn't the name you think of from a point production perspective. Definitely from an assist production, right? He definitely has his hand in contributing points. But tonight, 24 points, 6 assists, 9 of 14 from the floor. And this is the big one, 6 of 9 from 3. And if you guys remember to the dismal days of Chris Paul's early season shooting, what a turnaround for CP3.
Yeah, I mean, he was their most efficient offensive player tonight. You know, he got them big buckets. You know, when they were trying to come back, he made threes that got him closer, got him closer, got him closer.
Right.
Couldn't quite get him there in the second half, but I thought Chris played a pretty good game. Scoring-wise, his assists, he only had 6 assists, which for him is not a lot.
Yeah.
You know, but again, some of that is just guys not making shots. You know, it's not that his passes are, you know, are not good or anything. It's just that shots were not falling for the Warriors. So I think when you look at Chris's game and you say, you know, he did what he was sort of hired to do for this team in this season. He played 33 minutes, 9 of 14 from the field, 6 of 9. So 6 assists, no turnovers. Again,
I was just going to say, if there's anything that's characteristic about Chris Paul, it's the fact that he got those assists and he got no turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, you can say that, you know, he kind of did what you want him to do, what you need him to do. But the offense never found any real rhythm, I didn't think. And, I mean, I don't know if that's on him or if it's on other guys because the energy didn't seem to be high across the board, which is what it needs to be.
It was weird because there were spurts where there was amazing, impeccable ball movement. And you saw them finding each other, being patient, waiting for the right pass. And then there were a lot of spurts where there were some one-on-one takes. And there were some, you know, heavily crowded sides of the floor, them trying to figure it out. I will say that when it came down to plays where people had to take it on their own, there was one person that stood out, and that was Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins was able to get his game going a little bit, going at the Dallas Mavericks, and, you know, was productive in that regard. He ended up with 14 points and 5 of 13 from the floor. He got that 1-3, wasn't able to quite find that rhythm shot later on in the night, but I think the rebounds were huge for him. And I think that he really was able to provide what he could off of the bench, at least in the first half for sure.
Yeah, I think Wiggs did some of the stuff that you usually get from JK in terms of, you know, he attacked the paint a little bit, you know, which you want to see from Wiggins because he can do that, you know, whether he's running along the baseline or whether he's off the dribble, he can do a little bit of both of those things. So he had 14 points, and, you know, he did tail off in the second half, but you saw his first half energy, and you thought, okay, this could be, you know, Wiggins is coming to play tonight. Some nights you look at Wiggins and go, is he really locked in? Tonight he appeared to be locked in, but it faded in the second half. And I think they needed one more scorer in that second half to get things going. And Chris was the only guy who really – Steph got some shots up, but Chris was the one guy who was more efficient in that second half and kind of kept them alive enough to where they thought they could have a chance, but never quite could get there.
Yeah, I agree. And think about what Wiggins did, 12 points in the first half, only 2 in the second. Now, there were some other people that tailed off, but it was from the start of the game until the end of the game. And we are talking about a particular splash brother, Klay Thompson. And he struggled all night. Ended up with 1 of 11 from the floor, only hitting that 1-3 in the first half, 1 of 6 from 3 overall, 1 turnover, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. This is over 26 minutes. In the last 3 games, I mean, you're seeing these stats in front of you guys. It's been a struggle for Klay. And you saw him go back to the bench after he got subbed out for the last time, and he sat there. And he put on his zip ups. And his warm-ups, and he got his warms around his, you know, the warm pads around his knees, and he just sat there. And what do you think he's thinking?
He was clearly frustrated. You know, and I mean, if you're the Warriors, you don't want to see that body language. That's not what you want to see.
I agree.
Klay looked like he was not a happy guy. And I understand he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to play poorly. And they were both happening. You know, and if you're Klay, you're thinking one of the reasons why we're not winning is because I'm missing shots. And these are shots that he normally would make. So I get his frustration, but I think he has to be a little bit more aware of what the team needs when he's out there. He's a leader on this team.
I was just going to say he's a veteran.
Yeah, he's a leader on this team.
Veteran,
so
yeah.
I think when Klay is not playing well, he can't let that affect his overall demeanor, his overall body language, his overall presence.
Correct. Correct.
And I think that's what happened tonight. I mean, I'm not saying that, if Klay is out there, rah, 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 that, the Warriors win the game.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that that's not a good look from Klay, a veteran guy who we know is capable of leading this team and has been a leader for these rookies on this team. So I think that had to be a little bit disappointing for not just for the guys on the team, but also for, a fan base that knows what Klay can do when he's on his game, and they don't want to really see Klay do that.
I agree. And I remember what he said the other night against Brandon Podemski. Dramatic, rookie. Don't be dramatic now.
Yeah.
Don't be dramatic. But it is true. I can understand why he was frustrated.
Yeah.
But we got reasons to talk about why he was frustrated on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. Dubs Talk Live. We got to break down this loss against the Mavericks. And that guy right there was the main cause of it. We'll be right back. All right, YouTube. YouTube 3. Hey, YouTube, what's up? I don't have my computer, so I have no idea what you guys are saying, but I can imagine what you're saying. There's probably people calling for trades, and there's people again. There's probably people calling for Moody that did not play tonight. I would have been one of those people as well. Questioning that decision. What about you thinking about that?
It's interesting how when the Warriors lose, if somebody doesn't play, if he had played, maybe, I think, Moses is a guy who comes in and usually makes a positive impact.
Yeah.
So maybe you give him a chance. But, I think in this game, he didn't play, but there'll be another game when somebody else doesn't play. And I don't know if that means that the Warriors had a chance to win that game if that person had played. Did Moody deserve a shot? I think, probably, because he does generally do good things. But
especially on the thing that they needed tonight, which was defense. He comes in, he usually makes a deflection. He usually makes some sort of action play that just energizes the defense, right? He throws his body on the ground. He does something. And when you think about, I look at the number 26 minutes for Klay Thompson and a DNP for Moody. It's like, at what point?
I think, too, what happens is that
just had to zoom in, y'all.
Gary Payton, the second return tonight, and I think, he only played 9 minutes.
Right.
And I think if you're Steve Kerr, Gary's back, you give him a shot and see what he can do. And I think if Gary was still out, maybe Moses gets those minutes, you know. And so it's a tough call. I mean, there's something they struggle with all years, not having enough minutes for all the guys they believe can play.
Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live. I want to look at this chart right here because this was what the teams did against each other tonight. But I want you particularly look on the left side of your screen. 55.7% from the floor, 40% from three. The Mavs were unstoppable. And now, even though the Warriors had more assists, they had more rebounds, they had more steals, you can't outdo the fact that people are shooting well and they're shooting from distance at a high clip. That is always going to outdo what you're trying to do on your offensive end if you can't stop them.
Yeah, the Warriors got up 15 more shots.
Yeah.
But they made 2 fewer.
Right.
So that tells you kind of which team was making shots and which team wasn't. And I was talking to Jason Kidd before the game, and he was talking about his team and a bunch of other things. And he said, when we make shots, we're really good. He says, but there are some nights when we don't make shots. Tonight they made shots. And a lot of times you saw it. You know, it was finding the open guy in the corner, going in, finding Derek Lively rolling to the paint, going in. And Derek Lively had 12 points on 5 of 7 shooting, 14 rebounds. And he was the reason why, I think, one of the reasons why you put Trace Jackson-Davis in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
You know,
he's an energetic post.
Yeah.
He's athletic.
I mean, Derek is 7 feet. He's longer than Trace is. But I think that's a guy you want to try and neutralize. And the Mavericks love Derek Lively.
Yeah.
And he's been playing really well for a kid. And so when you look at the way Luka was able to sort of dissect the defense And Steve
Great
Kerr
way to
took
put
right
it.
after the game, and so did Pods. The number of miscommunications on defense, the number of late switches. These are things that get a team beat, and these are things that a guy like Luka takes advantage of every single time.
Yeah.
He's not out there just they could live with him just making shots, but when he makes enough shots and he's also getting his teammates easy buckets because
right.
they're open, that's where you die. That's where you die.
That's right. And that's the thing about when you have players like this that are so centric to everything that is good in an offense or even in a defense, you have to find a way to neutralize them by not necessarily stopping them, by neutralizing who can help them.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So in my opinion, you're looking at, okay, Luka's going to get off. He's going to do what he does. But you want to stop everyone around him, make it hard for anyone else, Dante Exum, to catch the ball. You know what I mean? Like there's a way that you have to look at your team and say, if he can do that pass to Derek Lively, then Derek Lively can get that ball out the way that they were just whipping the thing around. That stops at the front, where Luka can't get the ball to Lively.
Yeah, what you can't have is guys like Derek Lively, guys like Exum scoring 19 points, Josh Green scoring 18 points.
Right.
You know, you can live with Tim Hardaway getting 16 because, you know, he's kind of been there and done that.
Yep.
But it's these fringe guys that give you, 40, 50 points combined that you're like, okay, this is a game you're going to lose if you do that. You know, Dante Exum, I don't know if he's had 19 points all year.
He averages 9 points.
Yeah, but he had 19 tonight, and he shot 8 of 12, 3 of 5, 5 assists. So he played a really solid game. He looked like the player that people thought he was going to be when he came into this league like 7 years ago, whatever it was. So, but again, everything the Mavericks do is off of Luka.
Correct.
Everything they do is off of Luka. And the Warriors had
Make him play by himself. Make him play by himself.
There you go.
Because you can't win an NBA game scoring 50 points. And he can score 50
yes,
points.
but I would give him
right?
that.
But give him that.
Don't give him the assist.
Correct. Exactly.
So
exactly.
I think, if you're going to double team Luka, you got to be really smart and you got to be really sharp about scrambling and getting back. You can't leave guys in the corner, and you can't double off the big man when he's rolling to the hoop.
And you can't double off when you're on the ball side.
Yes.
If you've got a shooter in the corner, that happens so much tonight.
Yeah.
Helping off when you have a shooter in the corner. Let's see what Curry had to say. He's at the podium.
What you kind of talked about this offseason was the need for this year, everything to be about like winning. Everyone collectively, it all kind of had to be about that. Some of the talk tonight, particularly from Steve post game, was at times, I don't know if various agendas or what are getting in the way, but this team collectively needs to, focus on trying to get the win. Do you feel that's wavered, or it has been wavering at times this year, and particularly right now?
I mean, when you lose, like, you search for why you're losing, right? Like, and for the teams that are struggling like we are to find consistency, you try to pinpoint whatever it is that is correctable or is, a solution to the problem. So right now, I don't necessarily think it's agendas or kind of emotions getting in the way. I think it's when you're not playing well, you start to that's like a human nature default. You start to look at and I will come up here and say, I need to play better. I need to shoot the ball better. I know everybody could probably speak to something that they could do better to help us win. And that's the situation we're in. So until we start winning, there's going to be more nitpicking everything to try to figure out what the solution is. And until we find it, we're going to be, sitting right here in this situation.
At this point in the year, is it hard or frustrating that there doesn't seem at least to be a clear-cut group of 5 guys you can put out on the court and just know, like, we can rely on these guys to build a lead, get it done, do whatever needs to be done?
Yeah, it's the nature of this team and what's kind of materialized throughout the year. We've experimented a lot, some for, forced reasons, some for us, again, just searching for an identity of what are our strengths and playing into that. And, we haven't found it collectively. So it's frustrating for sure. 30 what are we, 15, 32 games in. And, you know, any team that is a serious, you know, seriously competitive contender or good team usually can answer that question. So we have to get to that point for sure before it's too late.
You've obviously hit a little bit of a rough stretch shooting. Can you pinpoint why you think so?
No, I mean, been in a situation before where, you know, you start off hot and cool down a little bit. I, again, hold myself to a high standard and, you know I need to shoot the ball better, play better, more consistent, provide that punch that, you know, scares teams and gets us going. You know, we've stayed somewhat competitive even, you know, with my numbers down, but I think confidence always remains, you know, high, and you know, it's hard to be perfect for all 82, but you still play the same way and know that, you know, over the course of the season, you know, the law of averages take over, and I've proven I can do that, so that's where my confidence remains.
Well, the thing that kept the league scared, as Steph said, look at these shooting ranks. Back 2014 to 2019, dominated the league in terms of shooting. And then obviously we know that 2019-2020 season, that's a fluke. Let's not talk about that one. But 2021 to now, gradually just dropped. Obviously the year that even when they won the championship, 10th and 8th.
Yeah.
But last year to this year,
Yeah.
what a drop.
Well, I mean, the year they won the championship, I think the goal is to try and be in the top 10.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
so
a great
if
point.
you get there, you're fine. I mean, those years where they were first, I mean, they were a super team. I mean, most of the time,
They
I'm
were
sorry,
scary.
But when you have Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant on the same team, you're gonna blow some people off the floor. That good.
Wasn't it Draymond that said that it literally altered his shot because he had those guys on his team that he was like, why should I be shooting if all three of them are shooting at the clip that they are?
Yeah,
I mean,
Draymond had a year where he shot 39% from three. Wow. Before they got Kevin.
correct, exactly.
So after that, threes were then foreign to him. You know?
Right.
But so those teams are anomaly, man, because they were just so fantastic that they were going to lead the league in almost every category, offensive category they needed to, because they had that firepower. They could commit turnovers and still didn't matter, you know, and they could do that. But the margin of error now has shrunk. It's shrunk ever since 2019. You know, it shrunk when Klay went down. It shrunk when Kevin left. You know,
There's
and
a sense
so
of urgency.
they've never been back to that. Even when they won the championship, they were not the team that they were the previous championships. So right now, they're not even the team that won the championship. And what's happened is that, in the meantime, they're not the same team, but the rest of the league has gotten better. That's the problem. The rest of the league has gotten better. And so, you know, I did a podcast earlier today with Mark Stein, a longtime NBA writer, and we were talking about can the Warriors still play with three out? And by that, I'm saying that when Draymond comes back, if he starts with Looney, they got two non-shooters on the floor.
Right.
Most teams have four shooters or five.
Draymond was shooting well before he left.
Yes, he was. But so, you know, it's a different thing now, and the Warriors have ways to go to find their best self, and they are not there.
They're not there. Okay. Well, they got 5 more home games, and hopefully they will find a way home back to that shooter mentality. We'll be back on Dubs Talk Live to look ahead as to what the Warriors have to face on their home court. Don't go anywhere, y'all.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Mancini's Sleep World. Visit Mancini's Sleep World during the year-end clearance event or visit sleepworld.com.
All right. I got a question. So I can't see what the questions are.
Am I in trouble?
No, not at all.
Am I on timeout?
I don't think so.
Am I on timeout?
I want to. No, not at all. I don't think
Okay.
so. There was a question on Twitter that was asked, like, what do you think are the main issues that the Warriors have right now? And I would sum it up to me, there's a different issue every night. It feels like.
It kind of is, yeah.
There's always something that's showing up. But the 3 that are recurring, Steph needs help.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is either him being set up or he needs someone else scoring as well, right?
Okay.
Then defensive mindset. I don't think they have one without Draymond. And even with Draymond, I feel like some people don't have one. And then personnel consistency. They just haven't had the ability to have consistency with personnel, and so the lineups are always changing. You just never quite know. What would you say are your top three?
I think the personnel consistency one is one that it kind of feeds on itself, because the search for trying to find the right combination has led them to that. You know? I mean, they haven't found the combination and said, okay, this is the one. They haven't had that. But to me, it begins with defense.
Yeah.
You know, when the Warriors were at their best, so many people focus on the shooting, the pretty ball, the ball movement and the player movement and the shooting and Steph and the Splash Brothers. But they played really good defense.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And that defense fed their offense. When you play great defense, your offense benefits immensely by that. And you get transition buckets, which the Warriors used to be really good at. Now they're not so good at that. They're not getting very fast break opportunities. So to me, if they can't fix the defense, I hate to be harsh, but if they can't fix the defense, they can't fix this season.
What a word.
I mean,
it's real.
Yeah.
Festus would be very proud of you for saying that. All right, the Dubs have dropped 2 at home, but they have 5 more games coming up. And don't worry, guys, the competition doesn't get any easier.
No.
The Magic are coming in, and you know they've been playing their butts off.
Good.
Those
That's
young
a good
guys
team
are
now.
athletic, they're long, they're energized, and they work well together.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we remember the Nuggets, our
Yeah.
good friends in Denver. Pistons are coming in. They got their win tonight, so
Hey!
thankfully, the streak isn't going to be on the pressure of the Warriors, shoulders. But I mean, the competition keeps going. Raptors, then Pelicans, to close out the homestand.
Yeah, I think you look at the next 2 games. You look at the next game in Orlando. Orlando was a team that gave the Warriors fits before.
Yes.
And so you look at that roster. Banchero and Franz Wagner and those guys. Franz Wagner is one of those guys the Warriors wish they could have taken. They had a chance to take him, they did not.
Wow.
But there are some people like, man, we could have taken that guy because he's 6'10", he shoots the ball, he passes the ball. So this is a tough team to play, and it's not going to get any easier. And I don't think that any of their key guys are out of the lineup.
Nope.
Like
they're young, they're
like
healthy.
you had with Miami.
Yeah,
and
right.
like you had with Dallas. You had a chance to beat some teams that were sort of compromised. Orlando's pretty healthy overall. Their main guys are out there. So, and they're a young team, full of energy. If the Warriors don't bring any energy early, they could be in trouble.
Well, I will think that the Magic are going to come in here with a point to prove as well, But the Warriors have a point to prove to themselves. Zena, Keita, Monte, Poole, Warriors go down against the Mavs, 132-122. We appreciate you joining us on Dubs Talk Live. Happy New Year, folks. Okay, this one. Okay, I'm like, which camera is it? There's 2 guys. You can't see it, but there's 2.
Yeah.
Man, I think I'm still like mentally thinking about what you said. It's a really great point, because I think that's any team though, like a basketball team.
Yeah.
The only exception, the Pacers. They
don't
just
defend
like,
very much.
They're like, you know what? We're just going to outscore everyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what we do on defense. Yeah. We're just going to. Tyrese Halliburton had 22 points and 23 assists tonight.
Yeah. But he had 2 turnovers tonight. Ooh. Wow, 2 whole turnovers tonight.
That's insane.
I know.
He should go home and think about that. You should be very disappointed in yourself,
That's another
Tyrese.
guy the Warriors like, we could have had him. But, hey, that's another topic, another conversation.
You can't do what coulda, woulda, shoulda
That's
game
right,
now,
right.
Monte. You can't.
You only be upset about it.
It's not going to be productive. What's productive
Yeah.
is thinking about what can you fix. And
Yeah.
I think your point about defense is huge.
Yeah, you can talk all you want about, if Steph is playing really well, we saw him playing really well early in the season, not enough help.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Klay started coming on. You said, okay, and now Steph and Klay were pretty good together for a while there, and you saw the team kind of look alive. Okay,
Right.
maybe they go. And then, Wiggins goes out of the lineup, and he comes back, and he starts showing flashes of what he could do, So you've seen flashes of what these guys can do. But to me, the only way to unlock this team's potential is for it to dig in and play the kind of defense that's required to become the kind of team that they have to play defense in the sense that create buckets off defense.
Right.
And when they were at their best, they were one of those teams that could score 20 points in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And most of it was off their defense. They would pressure teams and force turnovers and be gone. And getting dunks on the other end.
Doing drills.
Yes.
Right? Like
You're
doing the
getting dunks.
three-man weave up the court. Yeah.
Steph and Klay, coming down shooting threes off the break.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did so well. And it's so hard to do that against a set defense.
Correct.
And you're playing a set defense when you're letting the ball go through the bucket on the other end.
Yeah.
When the other team is scoring, they're going back on defense and they're waiting for you.
Right.
And so
And you think
you can't win that way.
And the thing about what you just said, like there was a point where I think Steph made a three.
Yep.
And then Josh Green off a made basket.
Yes.
Y'all, this is fundamental basketball.
Yes.
Off a made basket, get back.
Yes.
And you should be the first one back.
Yeah.
Because you guys were the ones shooting.
Yeah.
So you were already there.
Yeah.
Off a made basket, Josh Green got a transition dunk.
Beat everybody down. It's like.
And that's defensive mindset.
That's right.
Right?
That's
Those
right.
are defensive principles, but that's also like your heart to like not want to get beat up the court. And let's like, okay, we scored, but like don't, rest in that.
Defense is about pride
Yeah.
and determination. If you don't bring both, you're not going to defend well.
Yeah.
That's bottom line. And so you saw that tonight. You've seen it too much this season. And like I said, this season cannot get much better unless the defense gets much better. And we just haven't seen it.
And for all of you calling for trades, sure, if you want.
You got about 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. You got some time. But I just want you to know, one person joining a defensive group is not going to change your defense. It needs to be a group effort.
Yes, it does.
So, yes, one person can come in and score a bunch of buckets for the Warriors, but defensively, it has to be a group effort.
Yeah.
So
and it's too much to ask Draymond to come save the defense.
Correct.
This defense needs to be better overall.
Overall. All right. Well, next year.
That's when we'll see you again.
On to next year. There we go.
2024, maybe it'll be better than 2023.
Maybe an even number situation. I don't know, guys. We're looking for something. Like Curry said, we're trying to find the reasons why.
Yeah.
Anywho, we appreciate you joining us all 2023, but this season is nowhere near over. Warriors did drop tonight, now to 15-17, so 2 under. But while they, think about that, we hope that you all are thinking about your New Year's resolutions and entering the new year with a lot of joy and happiness. And we just appreciate you all for joining us on Dubs Talk all
Absolutely.
season.
Seconded.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, folks. Good night.